Audio Jungle.
Yeah. I really got the feeling today
Audio Jungle.
that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about.
Audio Jungle.
Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go!
Audio Jungle.
Let's go! Nothing's gonna stop us today.
Audio Jungle.
Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on.
Audio Jungle.
So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go!
Audio Jungle.
Let's go! Let's go!
Audio Jungle.
Let's go!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever it is, wherever you find yourself. This is the Power Series Show, your one and only show on the continent that brings together the legends, the heroes, the demigods that make up the Power platform. You get nothing but the best, nothing but excitement, nothing but fun, and a very casual way of learning stuff on the Power platform. I am yours truly, Samuel Adjanya. In today's episode, we have an amazing guest coming up who is going to share with us how he built a tracking application for coronavirus using power ups and other stuff on the power platform. When we come back, I'm going to introduce this guest to you, and we're going to get right into it. Don't forget to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. Call your friends, your family, your brothers, your sisters, your parents to watch the show. It's a great way to be in this lockdown. We will be right back. Awesome, we are back. If you're just joining us, this is the Power Series with yourself, Samuel Dorrani. Yep, awesome, awesome, awesome. Today we have on the show an interesting personality, someone who loves to use the Power Platform to do crazy things. He's built a very phenomenal app for tracking the coronavirus, and today he's going to share not just insight into the app, he's also going to share insight into his journey into technology and how he got into the Power Platform. So, without much ado, if we could welcome Reza. Hey man, can you just flip your camera and we can introduce you to the world? You are live, my friend. Welcome to the Power Series. Hi, what's up? Ah, we're doing awesome. We're doing very, very awesome. Awesome, awesome. So hold on, it looks it looks sure, go for it.
Morning, everyone. I'm going to try and match your energy today, Sam. Let's see if I can pull it off.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? I know, right? Yeah, yeah. But that's awesome. That's awesome. So, oh, okay. Hey, Oli, stop. Welcome, welcome. Can you try that again? It looks like they said they can't hear you. Can we try that one more time?
Oh, they could not hear me? Let
They
me
should
try it
hear.
again.
Yeah, yeah. They should hear you now.
They
Try
should
that
hear
again.
me. Good
Um,
morning, good
mhm.
afternoon, good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Oli and Mariano, can you guys check if you can hear Reza for us? Um, that will be very awesome. Yeah, we game. We're on it, man. Mariano, welcome, 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 guys. Another crazy dude when it comes to the Power Platform. If you haven't checked his YouTube channel, go check mine out. I have a list, I have a connection to his YouTube channel. You can join, and then also Reza's YouTube channel. Thank you, Ollie, for that awesome feedback, immediate feedback. We're really, really grateful. So, Reza,
Yes,
thanks
sir.
for making it onto the show. I know people
Most
say that I have some kind of energy. I don't know. I don't do it deliberately. It's just it's like I'm always excited every Sunday to bring you guys onto the show. for just people to know, hey, these are crazy and cool people making this, platform amazing. So, I mean, you can't blame me. Just anyway, as always, my viewers and listeners would want to know who you are, who Reza is, how you got into
Sure.
technology, and then, the power. I mean, just anything that you think would be interesting for us to know. And especially one thing that I always like my guests to highlight on is most times some of the challenging times. In your tech journey, but and how you overcame it. I feel like that's like an inspiration to others coming up, and then they might take a cue from that and aspiring to be like people, aspiring to be like you. So hey, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. So, hello everyone. I am Reza Dorrani. I'm a Microsoft Business Applications MVP. I got my MVP status last December. And firstly, I want to also congratulate the guy on the other side of the camera, Sam. So,
Yep.
congratulations on your MVP as well. And I work for an organization called Catapult Systems. They are based out of Houston, Texas. And I've spent now 7 years with Catapult. I've really enjoyed my journey with Catapult. And that's where my journey with the Power Platform began as well. Uh, Initially, I was hired as a SharePoint consultant. I have a background in SharePoint. I have deep love for
Mhm.
SharePoint, and majority of the solutions that I build will always have SharePoint as the
SharePoint.
backend purely because it's just something that I'm extremely comfortable with. Additionally, my journey towards the Power Platform started off approximately 3.5 years ago, when there was a time that I was doing work on SharePoint, but somehow I felt I didn't feel like I am reinventing myself or learning anything new, and that's where the Power Platform came about. It caught my eye. I tried to spend my time on the Power Platform, learn the Power Platform, and it's always a challenge to learn something new. And if I had to give one key takeaway to anyone who's listening to this conversation today, is that you have to challenge yourself, you have to try something new. And what better to get started with the Power Platform, because it's literally low code. I won't call it no code. It's low code, less code, more power,
Yep.
and
Yep. Yep.
you can build some really cool things with the Power Platform, and in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And the demo that I will be doing today is actually a solution that I built leveraging a lot of the pillars of the Power Platform, and I'll explain to you how I built them, what features I chose, why I chose them, and how I came about building this application. So that's basically my journey. So a SharePoint background, moving into Power Platform purely because I wanted to learn something new,
Mm.
and then the fusion between Power Platform, SharePoint, Teams, and all the other services just makes it that much more interesting for me.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. I mean, and that's true. We've been pushing the less code, more power, and it's amazing what you can build. It's amazing what you can build in a matter of hours when you're using
Yeah.
the Power Platform. So I'm really excited to have you. Mariano says that hey, you are the bomb, and I'm telling him. Obviously, there is nothing, there's no one, when it comes to crazy apps, in the likes of Alanchi,
Yeah.
man, you guys are crazy. So, till now, today's, what do you have for us today?
So today I will be showcasing a solution that I built for COVID-19. Of course, that's the buzzword right now. Everybody is you live, breathe, and eat COVID-19 right now, right? That's all we are talking about in our
Yeah,
day-to-day
yeah,
lives. I really wish this would end, and I'm sure everybody's hoping and praying this ends as soon as possible.
yeah.
And the solution is a COVID-19 tracking application that I built by leveraging the Power Platform. And this started with a small idea that I had, and of spending a couple of hours on a Sunday evening.
Hmm.
And as I started building it, I thought I could add more and more to this. And when I felt this is in a state that I can share this with the community, I went ahead and shared this
Hmm.
solution, and I got quite a lot of love back from the
Yeah,
community
yeah.
with regard to this solution.
Awesome. That's
So
that's an
that's what the
amazing
solution
thing.
is.
Yeah. That's an amazing thing about the Power Platform community. Like, there's so much love. Like, there's always a ton of support. People are, all the power addicts are ready to jump on to, hey, point you in the right direction or show you, hey, this is how I did it. You could go try it out. So it's, mad love, for the power platform community. So
Right.
take it away. It's all
All right.
yours.
Thank you. So I have two screens, and an FYI, I am working in a makeshift office. Uh, uh, so I am in double quarantine, by the ways. I am in California. So this is not
Okay.
my hometown. I was in California to attend an event that I was presenting at,
Oh, okay.
and town took place. So I'm stuck here, and I'm at my in-laws' house.
Well, I mean, what a good way to spend time with the in-laws. Who knows? They could benefit from some, some power goodness. You could sprinkle some, power ups, one-on-one sessions with them.
All right. Okay, so I have gone ahead and shared my screen. Sam, can you confirm if you're looking at
Yep,
the Power Apps Maker
yep. We can
portal?
see your screen live and loaded.
Perfect. So what I'll be demonstrating first is I'll showcase what the application does first, and then what we'll do in the second part is we'll go through and break down the different components of the application, and I will also talk about why I chose those components and from where did I steal some of the ideas. Let's put it that way.
There's always good point to share to borrow some code, and once you acknowledge the the original author, we're good to go. It's all about sharing in the power community.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open the application in the Maker portal. Of course, this application uses a PCF control, and because it's a custom control, it's letting me know that I am accessing a component in my application that has a custom component associated with it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fire off the application. First thing we'll do is we'll walk through the app. Then we will go through the different pieces of how I build this application. So what we are looking at right now is the home screen of the COVID-19 tracker application. This app has been built keeping the tablet experience in mind. This app, what we are looking at right now on the home page, we have the data for this application. It's coming from the Johns Hopkins University web service.
Okay.
So I'm leveraging their web service to actually pull in this data. So that's what my app leverages. By default, it's going to show you the cases worldwide. It's going to plot them on a Bing map. It is also going to showcase the worldwide statistics in a chart on the right-hand side, as you can see that. And in the bottom, there is a gallery that is showing us the number of confirmed cases broken down by country and region. And these are metadata points that have been provided to me by the web service. Now, on the home screen, what you could do is you can change the type of cases. So if I want to look at only active cases worldwide, I can change to active, and you will see that the map changes its behavior. The gallery changes its behavior. So everything is connected based on the filtering mechanism that I inherit in this application. You can also scroll down to a country level, so you can filter down or drill down to a country specific statistic. So if I want to look at cases purely in the US, if I pick United States, it's going to break down and show me the active cases just in the United States.
Just for fun's sakes, can we try Ghana? Considering that I'm streaming live from Ghana, I mean, I just want to, you know, just want to see. Oh yeah. Anyway, there we go. Okay. Cool.
So the way the web service works is it gives you data based on country and based on region. Specific countries, like in this case for Ghana, it is not giving me the statewide information,
statewide,
or basically regional-wide information. That's why you're only seeing just information for Ghana. I can't break it down further. But if I go to a country like US, in this case, and because the data is being provided in the web service for United States, I can further break it down by a region or a province.
Can you try Georgia?
Can I try Georgia? All right.
Yeah.
Are these demands
Just for
coming in
Mariano.
from the chat?
Yeah.
So here's Georgia.
Oh my God.
Is that not good? So
That's
there
right.
are around 12,000 active cases right now
Ooh,
in Georgia for COVID-19.
wow. This is crazy.
So what this application enables you to do is basically filter down based on the type of the case, filter down based on a country, or filter down to a region or a province level.
Okay.
Additionally, while you're looking at this map, so for example, I'm looking at Georgia and maybe I have a colleague in Georgia and I want to alert that user or that
Mm-hmm.
family member that this is the current scenario in Georgia. I have this little email option at the bottom.
Ah.
If you click on this, it will actually pass over the map in the state it was when I was looking at the
Okay.
screen. So it's going to copy that attachment over, and it is also going to copy the statistics that I was observing on the home screen.
Okay, kind of like a screenshot, like a snapshot of it.
Yeah, a
Awesome.
snapshot of the big map that you were looking at that instant. And what I can do here is I can go ahead and send this email out either to users within my organization, in my current tenant, or any external user. And I can say these are Georgia COVID-19 stats, and I can send this email. It will go out and send this email to the email ID that I have provided. It will also go ahead and send the attachment over to that email address. So what you can do is you can slice and dice the data, and at the same time, you can go ahead and send notifications based on the filter criteria that you have incorporated on the home screen.
Okay.
So that's the first screen of the app. The second screen associated with the application does something very similar. The only difference is this time it tracks cases around your location. Now,
Ah.
so Power Apps has the ability to track your current location. It's an inbuilt feature in Power Apps that you can enable. So in this scenario, as you can see, I am in San Diego, California. It's tracking my location right here. Now what the app does is it basically tracks cases around my location. And I was able to give this little filter bar, if you want to call it that way, where you can actually move this bar
The
left or right.
radius.
So you can,
Mm.
yeah, like the radius of cases that you want to track. It's like a geofence.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in this scenario, if I increase my geofence, I have given it to a maximum of 500 miles. So if I go to a 500-mile radius around my current location, it covers the states of Nevada, California, Arizona, and the Grand Prairie.
Oh.
So that's what the app does. So you can actually track cases around you, and you can also share that information with friends and family. The other thing what you could do is if I head over to settings, if you don't want to track cases around your location, but you want to track cases around a specific address that you want to specify,
Okay.
I can actually change this to specify an
Oh, okay.
address. And I need the latitude and longitude for the address. So I've just given a button here which says get coordinates, and all this does is
Mhm.
just opens a big map. So let's say if I go to one Microsoft Way, which
Wait.
is in
Mhm.
Redmond, Washington, and if I copy the latitude and longitude associated with this,
Mhm.
I'm going to try and plug this in right here. So yes, it's a little tedious, and there's a reason why I did not put the address. I'll talk about it when I speak about it in detail later. But if I so if I plug these coordinates in, and if I set this up, it is now going to change the preference from my location to the specified coordinates that I have
Okay.
identified in my app.
Okay.
Now, if I head over to COVID-19 cases around me, it is
Ah.
actually going to track based on the coordinates that I plugged in.
Okay.
So it's the same scenario, but the only difference is it's now plotting based on the coordinates that I have provided. So
That makes
because I
sense.
chose the Washington location, you will see that if I move this bar again, it will now track cases around the location that I have defined. So in a 300-mile radius, it basically covers the states of Oregon and Washington, and these are the numbers that we are looking at currently.
Yeah.
So I actually frequently do this for some of my family members in India.
Mm.
Some of my
Mm.
family members are in Iran. Some of them are in Texas. So I actually do this, and the same functionality applies. I can go to notification, and it's going to pass the notification thread over to my next screen, and I can basically notify them
Yeah.
about what's
Okay.
going on
Mm,
within their regions related to COVID-19.
okay. I
So
mean,
that's
that's good. I mean, sorry to pause you there, but I'm just thinking of, like you're saying, family. Like right now, I'm here. If I put this, let's say, on a schedule through, let's say, some Power Automate, and on, let's say, day by day basis, like
yeah.
early in the morning or maybe late in the evening, this is the status of, the virus or people around you. So hey, be careful. This is really awesome and useful. Very, 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 very.
Thank you. Yes, and as you mentioned, the web service also provides additional data points. I tried to keep this very simple. I just wanted to show what's possible in a very short span of
Short time.
time.
Mm,
But with the historical data being available, you can also track things like, oh, over the course of the last week, you're seeing a
mm-hmm,
big rise in cases in a location around your family space, basically. So you could do even things like that with this application, and you can literally build those features
yeah.
as an add-on to this app as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
So this is related to the tracking information. So two
Mm-hmm,
screens associated with it, the home
mm-hmm,
screen as well as the around me screen.
mm-hmm.
If I head back to the settings, I'm using Bing Maps, and it's
Oh,
using static Bing Maps. So it's basically a static image. It's not a dynamic map where you can go ahead and zoom or
zoom
move
and
things around.
pinch. Okay. Yeah.
You can't do things like that, but I was able to add a zoom option to the map. So if I do auto zoom, it will just automatically zoom based on the number of points that are
Mm,
available.
mm,
Because for Georgia, there's just one point, it's just plotting it right there in the center.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If I remove the region filter right here, and if I just focus
Oh,
on
okay.
US as a country, you see it's going ahead and it's center aligning the map
Map.
based
Okay.
on the number of points it has observed.
Yeah.
Another thing to note is static Bing Maps has a limitation of the number of pins that you can plot,
Oh,
and
okay.
limits 50. And that's why I have highlighted that at the bottom
Max
here, that
50.
I'm
Okay.
only showing a maximum of 50 points. So it might not be a true indication, but
Mm.
as you drill down, more or less, you will see the most accurate information that you need to see in this app.
So is it out of curiosity, is was there any specific reason that you chose to do the static map instead of the conventional one that allows the pinch zoom and all that?
So those maps would require custom components to be built. And is it possible to do that? Yes. And there is also something new that will be announced very soon. I don't want to
Okay.
break the news, but there'll be something good coming.
Yeah.
And some of it was announced, but yeah, just waiting to see when those announcements come through. And yes, you can leverage dynamic maps, but I wanted to keep things simple. I had a
Simple.
time crunch, and I was trying to share something with the community. I wanted to keep something where the licensing costs is reduced to
Mm,
a minimum as well.
mm.
So one of the big factors in the solution is licensing, and I will explain that when I start breaking the elements or the components of the solution down. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Uh, However, I'm using static Bing Maps. There are certain things I could make configurable. Like for example, if you need a dark canvas on the map, if I just come to the settings and change my map style, and if I head back, the canvas is going to change to dark mode.
Oh,
So there
okay.
are these different modes that you can incorporate, like a dark mode or a light mode or a gray mode. Whatever features were available, I just put them all into the app, and I was like, let's give that ability to the user to change the mode of the app depending upon his or her liking. So these are the
Oh.
settings. Basically, you can just change the map style, and you can
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and specify coordinates, or you can just stick to your location wherein it reads your coordinates based on your location.
Awesome.
Uh, Two more things in this app. On the World Health Organization website, there were some really useful videos around COVID-19. These videos are actually out on YouTube that you can access. Power Apps has a video player that you can embed videos from YouTube. So what I was able to do is I have a data source in the backend where I define the link to these YouTube videos and the title of these
Okay.
videos. So I have defined that in my data set at the back end, which is SharePoint in this case. And I'm leveraging that data set to showcase the videos here.
Oh.
So all those handy videos around basic protective measures against
Mhm.
COVID or
Mm.
maintaining social distancing, or should I be wearing a mask, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. I was able to plug them in into this application as well. If you
Awesome.
would have seen the crisis communication app, it has a
Yeah.
lot of good features what
Yeah.
they've added in terms of emergency contacts, or in terms of notifying users about COVID-19 scenarios. If you plug both of these apps together, you can get the best of both
Who
worlds.
else? Yeah.
And I could have easily added those features here, but because it was already done, I did not want to create
Okay. You're not
overlaying.
reinventing the wheel. Yeah.
Exactly. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. So all those features can easily be incorporated here as well in the COVID-19 tracking solution. Apart from all of this, I also have something called as the COVID-19 bot. And last week on your channel, Audrey Gordon presented all about Power Virtual
Yep.
Agents. I'm sure
Yep.
most of your followers
Yep.
already know about Power Virtual Agents. These are low code chatbots that you can build literally in a matter of minutes. And this bot took me approximately 4 minutes to build. 4 minutes. Okay. How I built it in 4 minutes, I'll show you that later.
Awesome.
But if I go to this bot and if I start conversing with the bots, I'm going to say hi. And this bot only.
And I can see you're using, the icons and all that. Because you mentioned that on LinkedIn, so I can see you change those.
Yes, so this is new, wherein you can
Yeah.
actually go and brand your chatbot as well.
Yep.
So you can add your colors. You can, as you can see, it's themed based on the theme of the
Mm.
app. So I made a little bit of an effort to change the styling of the bot.
Mm.
I even have the user image
Yep.
identified and a little bot image identified as well to tell you that the bot is conversing with you. I have my questions predefined because I want to save time. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead and ask my first question, that is, what is this coronavirus? So what the bot is going to do is if it finds a matching topic or a trigger phrase associated with my question, it is going to go ahead and send me the answer. So it's a very simple bot that I spun up literally in a matter of minutes. And all the questions and answers for this bot, I actually pulled them in from a web page from WHO. So if you go to the World Health Organization website, they have a Q&A page. And what you can do with Power Virtual Agents is you can actually pull in topics from a web page that has all Q&A on it. And that's exactly what I did in this scenario. And I will show you this when we go through the different pieces of this application. So this application talks to a web service to pull data, and that job is being done by Power Automate, which is Flow. So Flow talks to the web service, pulls all the tracking information, and puts it in my data source. My data source is SharePoint in this case.
Mhm.
Power Apps is my front end that is pulling all the data together. And Power Apps is pulling data from my data source, which in this case is SharePoint.
Mm.
And then on top of it, I also have a Power Virtual Agent, which is my chatbot that helps me to answer questions around COVID-19. So I have pulled in Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. I could have easily leveraged Power BI as well to talk to the same data set, which is my
Yeah.
SharePoint repository, and actually build a report around my data set as well. So you can include all the pillars of the Power Platform to build a solution like this within a matter of minutes. So that's the basic crux of this application.
Awesome. I mean, a lot of very useful and interesting things going on. But like you mentioned, viewers would want to know, a few things. First of all, the John Hopkins API. If you could
Yes,
just, start from that point. So this is
sure.
just show us the API and how you integrated it. That would be the first one. I think there are a couple of questions in here, but we'll take them one after the other.
All right, so let's start with that. So this is the John Hopkins University map. So if you log into this, if you go to COVID, if you just search for COVID-19 J it'll basically lead you to this web page. And in this and that's where I started with. Every day I used to go here to track and see what's going on. And I was like, there has to be a better way to track cases around me, or I wanted to do something personal for my own benefit and for my organization's benefit, by the ways. So this data is actually available on the ArcGIS web service. So if you go to arcgis.com, and if you search for if you search for NCOV underscore cases, what I will do is I'll post this link over to you, Sam, and you can share it later.
Share that. Okay, awesome.
So this is the web service that you can pull the data from, and it's a free web service. I had to do a little bit of digging into this web service to figure out how do I actually go ahead and make this API call. And I was able to find out what that URL looks like. It's a very long one, as you can see. And once you make this call, it is going to give me a JSON data set right here. Now, of course, nobody can see this, nobody can read this, and it's very difficult to understand. So what I was able to do is I'm going to showcase this in Visual Studio Code. I'm assuming my screen is easy enough to view right now.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, if you can zoom in a little more.
You want me to zoom in a little more?
Yeah, just a little more.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So if you look at the JSON that this API returns, the key was for me to understand the JSON first, and then figure out how do I extract the data from this JSON. So the way I did this is, if you look at this JSON, first of all, it has a node, right? And within this node, it has some subnodes. And these are things about spatial references. If you look at this JSON, it has information around fields that this API returns. For example, this API returns province and state information. This API returns country information, but that's not what I want. What I want is the actual data. So I kept figuring out where in this JSON response is the data.
Yeah.
And within a node called features is where the actual data lives. So for example, there is a province or a state in Canada called Alberta, if I'm pronouncing that right with my accent.
I think you got that correct.
Okay. And it has information that I can capture, like the latitude, the longitude, the number of confirmed cases, recovered cases, deaths, active cases, and so on and so forth, right? So all the information is right here in this array within this JSON node called features, right? I was able to figure this out, right? And all the information is right here. This is a common pattern where all the data is being captured.
Okay.
So the first step was to trigger the call to the web service. And the second step is to analyze the JSON to figure out where in the response is the data that I require. Once you capture all that information, then the next step for me was to build my data set in order for me to store all this information. So in my scenario, my data set is SharePoint. So what I will do right now is I will go to my SharePoint site. I have a list in SharePoint that I created, and this list is called COVID tracking data. Now, does this have to be SharePoint? No. This can be CDS, this can be SQL, this can be Excel, this can be any data source of your choice. In my scenario, I picked SharePoint, and there's a reason for it. The reason is not just my love for SharePoint, but because SharePoint is the only data source that is delegable, and the licensing does not require any additional costs in terms of premium licensing. That is the exact reason why I chose SharePoint for this application. Now, in my SharePoint list, I'm just tracking the basic metadata of the information that is being returned by the JSON. I have the country, the latitude, the region, the longitude, the confirmed cases, and so on and so forth. And that's all I have captured in my list. So the next step was for me is to pick the right data source that I have picked right now. I've picked SharePoint. I've created my repository, and then comes the next step of reading the data from that web service and pushing that data periodically into this tracking list. And that's what gets me to the next part, which is Power Automate.
Exactly.
So if I head over to Power Automate, I have a flow called Get COVID-19 Data. If I head over to this flow, I'm going to try and zoom in. So the first thing is that you will notice is that this flow runs on a schedule, and I have scheduled this to run every hour because I wanted to keep the data as live as possible.
Possible. Yeah.
Okay. Before I go a little bit more ahead, could I have built a custom connector for this purpose and directly leverage the custom connector in Power Apps? The answer is yes, and I had started with that. But custom connectors are, Samuel, what is it? It's premium.
Yeah,
Custom
exactly.
connectors
Yep.
require premium
Cost you.
licensing.
Yep.
It costs you. So I want to keep the cost down to a minimum. And if you use a custom connector in Power Apps, every user who accesses the Power Apps would require the premium license in order to talk to that custom connector. So I wanted to avoid that scenario. And that is the reason why I have actually gone ahead and leveraged a Power Automate to fetch the data from the web service and push it to my data set, which is SharePoint. So I could have built it the other way, but I chose this approach. So this flow runs on a schedule, and what this flow does is every time I run this flow, I set something called as a run number. So every time this runs, I have a unique number associated with the job that is currently running, and that's what I'm generating right here.
Ah.
I have a list called the history list wherein I'm maintaining every time this flow runs. I
Okay.
put a new entry into that history list to tell me that yes, this flow ran, and this is what the flow did, and it has complete. The main part of the flow is this. I am calling an action in flow called HTTP. Now, before people get to me and say, Reza, that is premium. Yes, it is premium,
Yeah.
but it is only premium for one account that runs this flow.
This
That's
flow.
my account.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just one account having premium license as against the whole organization who's
organization
accessing
having.
that
Yeah.
having premium license. So in this case, it's a very simple HTTP request, and the URL is that same URL that I fired in my browser window, which is right here, which gave me that JSON response that I showcased in the Visual Studio. If I head back to my flow, it's a very simple JSON response that you receive. The next step for me was to parse that JSON. Now, Flow has an inbuilt action called parse JSON that I could have leveraged, but I tend to avoid parse JSON. And the main reason being is if you avoid parse JSON, you will understand Flow a lot better, if you ask me. The reason is because you will be able to break down elements based on your requirements. You will avoid for loops as much as possible. So in this case, I am looping through, and let me try and see the expression. The expression says the response that the web service gives me, and I am reading a node called features. Now, what is features? If I head back to my JSON response, features is the node which has the array that I am looking out for, right? Because this has the actual data that I want. And that's what I'm leveraging right here.
Yeah.
The next step is within this, all I needed to do was get the data and push it into my list. I'm going to show you one example of it. So let's say example, I want the region. So if we look at the expression associated with the region, and I'll have to hover on this, it's item, question mark, attributes, question mark, province, state.
Yeah.
Now, what is question mark? Question mark means if that node exists, read the data. If it does not, let it go. So that's what Flow does by you adding a question mark in there. If I don't add that question mark, and if I say search for a node called attributes, and if that node is not existing in the JSON, your Flow is going to error out. So in this case, I am adding that little question mark. It'll be very difficult to spot that right now. And I am reading a node called attributes. Now, why am I reading another node called attributes?
Yeah.
The reason is because within features, you will observe there's something called as attributes. And within attributes is where the data points are that I want to capture. That's because the JSON is structured in that fashion.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I had to drill down a little bit to get to my element. I could have easily avoided all of this and written simple parse JSON actions in flow and gone through loops and loops and loops. But I did not want to do that. I wanted to keep my flow as clean as possible and keep the number of loops to a minimum.
Mm.
That's the reason why I did a little bit of JSON parsing, which I learned from another genius MVP called John Liu.
No.
Absolute guy.
So hold on. So Mariano is like, wait a minute. I would have used, JSON and then, compose. What is it?
Right.
Like I would have used parse JSON and compose. So I'm like, well, he wants to know. I mean, if there's any specific preference to that. I mean, in your own experience.
In my own because I wanted to learn flow. So John Liu, if you'll ever look at John Liu's videos, he rarely uses parse JSON. He's always looking at the JSON. He's always trying to break through the JSON code. He's always trying to get through the elements with the least number of loops. And that's where I learned that it's very important to understand the structure of the JSON and to understand how to parse JSON and flow. Because if you learn that step or if you learn that trick, you don't
Yeah.
have to you don't have to be dependent on the parse JSON action.
Yeah.
And that's why I prefer this approach. I'm not saying the other approach is incorrect. That's available for you to use. It's probably much more easier to use than this approach. But it's just that I have kind of got myself adjusted to working in this fashion, and that's why I stick to parsing the JSON myself.
No, okay. Cool. I mean, that's fine.
All right, so I'm
I
gonna
think Mariano, maybe that answers your question.
So this for loop that loops through every node that is returned by the web service keeps adding the items on the SharePoint list. And once the job is complete, it goes ahead and updates the status in another list where I'm just maintaining the history of my runs. And then I go ahead and delete all the previous items because I don't want to keep a lot of data in my SharePoint list because I don't want my SharePoint list to keep growing. I don't need the old data. I have gotten new data from the web service after the job has completed. So this is a flow that runs on a schedule, gets the data from the web service, feeds my backend data source periodically, and cleans up my data set accordingly. All of this is handled by this one flow that I wrote.
Yeah.
I also have a second flow that I wrote, and this is purely from a deployment standpoint of the solution. This one, the concept of this, I stole from Audrey Gordon. So Audrey, Audrey does a lot of videos on templatizing things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
one of her videos is around templatizing SharePoint lists.
Mm.
It's not easy to create or recreate SharePoint lists and again and again. You can't just simply go and say, I need a template of this list. Not in modern SharePoint anymore.
Yeah.
There's something called as site designs and site scripts that you can leverage in SharePoint. Or what you could also do is you could leverage Power Automate to create your lists and libraries.
Mm.
In this scenario, I've created a flow, and what this flow does is it basically uses SharePoint REST APIs. All of this are standard features, nothing's premium here. And what it does is it goes ahead and creates the SharePoint list and creates all the columns associated with the
Oh,
list.
okay.
So this is more like a deployment flow that you run once when you are deploying this application.
Oh, okay. Just to set
Okay.
just to set up your SharePoint list into having this in your tenant or your org. Okay.
Correct. So if you
Cool.
need this application in your tenant, I don't have to explain to you how to build the SharePoint list. You just deploy this flow. The lists are pre-created for you and just run the other flow. It will talk to the web service. It's an open web service. It will pull the data and push all the data to your data set.
Awesome.
So this is the Power Automate piece of my solution. Power Automate gets the data, puts the data in my backend data set. Now we will move over to Power Apps. Any other questions on the Power Automate side?
No, so the Automate side, we're good with that. So at least the first question was with integration, which you've answered. I think the other
Yeah.
question was with the snapshot, how you did the snapshot into the email, and then also the tabs.
Yeah.
So realize that you have like icons on the left. When you
Yeah.
click, opens like another scene, but then there's some highlight and all that. So how you did, yes, how you did that. And that's also another question that came in.
Okay, sure. So the next thing we will cover is those components in Power Apps. So if you've never used components in Power Apps, I highly recommend you to do so. Components are reusable artifacts that you can create and leverage in your apps. Now, if you look at my app that I'm playing right now, if you look at the header and if you look at the left navigation, they are consistent as I move through the various screens in my app. The reason is because I have not recreated them every time in each screen. I've just created them as a component and I'm leveraging the same component in every screen. So it opens up reusability within Power Apps.
Awesome.
In this scenario, if I head over to components, I have 4 components as a part of this application. The first component is a header component. All of the 4 components that I have built as part of this application are responsive. That means if I leverage the same components in a mobile app, if I go ahead and build a mobile app and leverage this component, I don't have to resize things. That's because everything has been built responsively.
Okay.
Not responsibly, but responsively.
Responsibly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this is a very simple header component that I have built, and this component has certain properties that you can pass. For example, header text.
Text. Okay.
You can pass a logo, and you can also pass the color that you want as the background color for this component. So it's a very simple component. And if I head over to every screen of mine, I'll just cover the first screen. If I go to the home screen and if I go to the header component, you will note that I have passed the header text as COVID-19 tracker, and that's what's showing up right here. I have the app logo that I am passing, and then I have the background color that I'm specifying as purple. If I change this to green, my component should change to green.
Yeah.
Doesn't look great with the theme of my app, so I'm going to go back to purple. Don't know why I chose green. Okay. So it's a component, right? And I can reuse this, and that's exactly what I've done. If you go through every screen, I have used the same component. Now I have a component for header. I have a component for left navigation as well.
Okay.
Now this left navigation that I have built uses an input property called navigation items, wherein I can define how my navigation looks like. So I define the title of my navigation, the screen that it needs to get redirected to when I click on any element in my navigation, and then the icon that I want to show for that navigation element. Now, if I head over to my app, and if I look at the on-start version of my app, you will notice that I have created a collection right here called navigation collection. And in this, I have created all the navigation elements for my app. So here's my home screen.
Okay.
This is what the screen is, and here is the icon that I want to use to highlight the home screen. This is the around me screen, the chatbot screen. I've just added all the nodes.
Yeah.
And then in this component that I have dropped to my home screen, all I had to do is pass this collection as the navigation item. So if I want to add more nodes to my navigation just for the purpose of this demo, let's say I wanted to add 2 more nodes to this navigation.
Yeah.
If I just run these nodes, and if I just run this app again, you will notice that there are 2 more nodes showing up at the bottom.
Showing up. Yeah. Okay.
And this will happen for every screen, not just the home screen.
Okay.
So that's how this element works. It's basically a navigation component. And by the way, this component is available for free in the community gallery. I've done a blog post on this on my YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And I've also shared this. So if you want to truly learn how I built this from scratch, I've actually showed it on my YouTube video as well.
Yeah. We'll link that, after the show. I'm actually going to add your YouTube channel to the features channel for this show, so people can always see your channel as well. But that's a very cool pointer. I think the other thing that came in was also the video plugging. So how you did, you got, the content from WHO and then created that video selection. I think that's the last thing that,
Sure. So the video aspect of this app was actually something very, very simple. I just created a very basic list in SharePoint called videos list. And all this list has are 3 elements: the title of my video, the URL to the YouTube video, and then the order in which I want these videos to show up on the page. So all I have is a data set that already has this information incorporated. And within Power App on my video screen, there is a video component available in Power Apps that you can just drag and drop to your screen. and I'm just passing over the same data that I captured from my SharePoint list.
Hmm.
So it's very simple. It's just a list that has a list of YouTube videos, and I got them by going to the WHO website, and
Okay.
you can just embed those videos directly in your Power App. These are not videos held in memory in Power Apps. These are just
Yeah.
references
Since to
to
okay.
YouTube videos. That's very important to note because Power Apps has a limited set of storage that you can play with. So ideally, you should have videos not in YouTube. You can also have videos in Microsoft Stream now, and
Mm-hmm.
you can add stream videos into Power Apps as well.
Yeah.
So you could go both ways. Talking about components, so I have the header component, the left nav component. Uh, there is a component called the chart component. So if you noticed on the home
Okay.
screen, if I head over to the home screen, we have this nice looking chart component. I do not want to take credit for this because this was done by one of the community members
Okay.
who has put this out in the community. If you go to powerusers.microsoft.com, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And if you go to Power Apps community, if you scroll down, there is a section called Canvas App Component Samples. If you go here, many users have posted components, free components that you can leverage. And one of them was put out by this user and he called it COVID bars title, right? So he shared this component, and the first thing I did is I messaged him. Here's my message right here, by the way. I told him I will be using this in my COVID-19.
Yeah.
So I just so I just went ahead and grabbed it
Yeah.
from the community. That's the beauty of the community, right?
Yeah.
People are sharing things so that you can go and leverage and extend or use it as is. It's your choice. My components are also in here. So if you go and look out for the header component, or here's my left navigation component, all the components are right here. Even the YouTube video link is right here. So do check out the community apps gallery and the components gallery. There are some really cool things that you can just pick up and use right away.
Right away. Okay. Awesome.
Right away.
Yeah.
The other thing that there's one last component that I want to talk about is the Bing Maps component.
Yeah.
Now, Bing Maps is not something available out of the box in Power Apps. And yes, I can build a custom component that has dynamic maps, but I want to keep it really, really simple. If you register for a Bing Maps key, and you can get a free key
Mm-hmm.
with certain credits
Yeah.
per month, and that's what I'm leveraging right here for this application. There is a URL that you can call, and all of this I have explained in my blog post, by the way,
Okay.
dev.virtualearth.net. If you go to that, and there's a REST API that returns a static image, and you can pass dynamic parameters to that REST API call. So if you make that API call, it will actually return an image to you. And that image is what I'm actually leveraging in my Bing Maps component. So if I head over to my home screen, and if you look at the property of this component, I've created a property called pushpins.
Push pins. Okay.
And in this, I'm passing a collection of data, and the collection is called call COVID map data.
Mm.
If we look at this collection has a label,
Ah.
it has the latitude, it has the longitude, and it has the style. The style is the style of the pushpin. The label is what shows up on the pushpin,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the collection, the latitude and the longitude that I am passing are the pins that are going to be
Pins that
plotted
are
on.
okay.
So what I did is I actually made that dynamic, and as I even change my filters, so if I change this to deaths, you will notice that the pins change to red. That's
Red.
because
Yeah.
I'm changing style on the fly.
Mm.
So it looks like the map is changing, but in reality, it's just
Same
another
map.
static
Yeah.
API call.
Yeah.
It's just sending the data back to me. So that's what I'm leveraging as static maps, and I'm dynamically passing this data over to a component because I did not want to recreate this map over and over again.
That
Even
makes
this
sense.
map is available in the community that you can pick up and run away with straight away. So that's the
Awesome.
Big Maps. Sam, how
Yeah.
much time do
I mean, if we want to show something else, yeah, why not? But we just hit the top of the time, which is 9:08. We've done an hour now. But if there's something else you wanted to share or show, you can show that before we call it a wrap.
And the last part is the Power Virtual Agent thing that I built in 5 minutes.
Yep.
So I just want to show you how I built that in 5 minutes.
Hmm.
So if you head over to Power Virtual Agents, and within Power Virtual Agents right here, if you go to topics, there is an option right here called suggest topics. If you click on suggest topics, you can give a link to a web page. Okay. And I have a URL that I have saved. I'm going to try and trigger this URL. This is the link to the Q&A page for COVID-19 that has been put out by the World Health Organization. It has the questions and all the answers. If you want to leverage all of these in your bot, you can easily do that within a matter of seconds. All you need to do is go to Power Virtual Agents, create your bot, go to suggest topics, plug in the URL right here, click on add, and click on start. It will start scanning the web page and it will extract all the questions and answers in the form of topics that you can leverage in your bot. And that is exactly what I have done in this scenario. All the topics that you see here are questions and answers that got extracted from this web page on the WHO portal. So all I did was pull them in, publish the bot, copy the URL of the bot, and then in Power Apps, there is no direct way for adding a Power Virtual Agent.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
However, another MVP, Yash Agarwal, has put out a custom control. It's a PCF control called an iframe control. I was able to incorporate that in my Power App. So this is at the custom iframe control that I was talking about. And all I had to do is give the URL to the bot.
Ah.
That's all I had to do, and the bot is available for me to use within Power Apps. So just use the iframe component, drop it in, and you're good to go. So that's how I added this bot inside this Power App. Do I need to add it? Maybe not. I could have kept it separate. But because I was building a solution and I wanted a one-stop shop for everything, I included it as an iframe in my solution.
That's amazing.
And that's
That's very amazing. It's awesome. I mean,
Thank you.
from even the simplicity of it, the thought around me and emails, very simple things, but you find that in this trying times, very useful solutions and useful features. I mean, this is awesome. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for pointing us in a very cool direction for us to know where to go to get some of these things. And again, we're privileged to have you. Always thankful to have people like you sharing the knowledge, and I'm grateful. I mean, that's just all I
Thank
can
you.
say. From what I'm hearing and seeing in the messages, this has been very useful and very educative and insightful. So, Riza, thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're very honored. This is not over yet. I'll still be coming back to you, potentially coming back to talk about something specific. So, I mean, I'll keep in touch, and then we can make this even, much better in subsequent shows. But do send me the slides and
I
the
will.
information so I can share also to our viewers. Any
Sure.
last words? Anything you want to share? I mean, it
Well,
doesn't
thank you.
necessarily have to be on par, but anything you want to share.
Well, thank you so much, firstly, for having me on the show. I look forward to coming to the show again in future and maybe showcasing something completely different. Hopefully, none of us talk about COVID-19
COVID,
in future. We want this thing to
definitely,
end. I don't want
definitely.
anybody to use this app. I want us to be done with this. Uh, that's the first thing. Second thing, I think you're doing a great job on your Power series show. I really like the fact that you cover all the facets of the Power platform and not just focused around Power
Yep,
Apps or Power Automate. I like that we are touching all the points.
yep,
Uh, they are the Power platform is better together. It's stronger together.
together. Yeah,
This application is one proof of it. I'm sure there are
yeah,
many other scenarios that we can think of when we can get all the pillars of the Power Platform together. My only parting words is try something new. If you know Power Apps, try Power Automate. If you know Power Automate, try virtual agents.
mm.
I am not that good at Power BI. I'm admitting that on the call today. So I am my next task is to get good at Power BI.
Yep, yep.
So don't be afraid. Try something new and nothing better than the Power Platform because it truly is the less code, more power experience for you. Thank you, Sam.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, thanks for throwing this out. And to all of you who joined the show, Mariano, Ollie, Yamin, Reggie, Foying, all of you guys who joined on the stream, thanks for making this an awesome one. Until we come your way again the next week, it's a tradition to show who is coming on. So I think I have to do this now. Let's bring this so that the people can see who we have on next. And I should be using my drum rolls here, but anyways, anyways,
I'll do the drum roll for you, Sam.
yeah, we have that, and like I said, I try as much as possible, to bring people that love to share and love to show us, all these great things. I don't know if you can see it, but ladies and gentlemen, we have Sancho Haka coming onto the show next Sunday, and he's going to show us how to build Alpha Star using templates. So Sancho Haka is our guest for next week's episode. So, crazy times. Reza, thank you very much for
Thank
once
you.
again for sharing. Have a wonderful day. Our day here in Ghana is, is almost 10 p.m. It's like 9:14. Our day is ended. I'm sure yours is just somewhere, in the afternoon. So you have a couple of things, to take care of. Thank you very much. And for all of
Thank
you
you.
around the world, thank you for making time with us. Until next week, this has been the Power Series. Catch you next week.